Well, Rex Tillerson didn't exactly want to leave. He didn't go quietly, even after President Trump fired him. And that was evident when he had his spokesman put out a statement, this after he had been told that he will no longer be Secretary of State, saying, well, I intended to stay a while longer, and the Secretary had no idea. He's unaware, was the word, as to why he was being let go. That's the way it works in Washington. The president gets to let go any cabinet member he wants. And then Secretary Tillerson had a televised event, didn't take any questions, of course, and he seemed unhappy. He seemed very stern. And at the end, he thanked all the employees at the State Department. He thanked everyone in America, but he did not thank the President of the United States. Okay, I get it. No fun being fired. What's fascinating about this is that he actually had been told, he actually had been woken up in the middle of the night while on a trip to Africa late last week and told by John Kelly, Chief of Staff, the President is ready to make a change. Wasn't told exactly when, but then must have thought maybe he had a little more time before the presidential tweet happened this after a Washington Post story broke the news. Now, what's also fascinating about the byplay here, with Tillerson out, CIA Director Mike Pompeo nominated to be Secretary of State, is that last November 30th, New York Times had a big story that said White House plans to replace Tillerson with Pompeo, and the president tweeted that that was fake news. Except it wasn't fake news, and the president himself kind of confirmed that yesterday when he spoke to reporters and said that Rex and I have been talking about this for a long time. In other words, he didn't just decide this in the past week. Now look, the president gets to have anybody he wants at Foggy Bottom, and it was clear for a long time that these two men just didn't have the chemistry. Tillerson, no experience in government like the president, but used to running his own show as CEO of ExxonMobil. And beyond that, they seem to disagree on all the major issues. I mean, North Korea, he was so far cut out of the action that he had said the day before the president announced he would meet with Kim Jong-un that there was nothing going on, no talks, no negotiations. So that had to be kind of embarrassing. And it was some months ago, last fall, when the president almost kind of scolded him on Twitter saying, you know, relax, Rex, there's no point in wasting your time on negotiations with Little Rocket Man, until the president decided he would meet with Little Rocket Man. Same thing, Tillerson said to have been opposed to moving the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem, opposed to backing out of the Iran nuclear deal or walking away from it. And there are other issues as well, like Russia, for example. So that's the way it works. You serve at the pleasure of the president when you don't have much, when you have no pre-existing relationship with the president, and you don't have much of a comfortable bond with the guy who you're speaking on whose behalf you're speaking around the world, and you disagree with him on most major policies. That's not a formula for long-term tenure in your job. So the press was right. The Tillerson is going. And I think, you know, most people are saying, at least Mike Pompeo seems to be doing a good job running the CIA. He's a former congressman. He has a good relationship with Trump. And the president's entitled to have whoever he wants. Not that there won't be a drawn-out, you know, confirmation process. But I think one of the reasons the journalists are not shedding any tears over Tillerson's firing is that he really didn't give people in my profession the time of day. He almost never did interviews. He almost never held news conferences. He wasn't really comfortable with the public aspects of the job. He didn't really communicate with the public much either. I mean, he was kind of a remote figure. Most people have never heard his voice. Not to say that any cabinet member has to cater to us, but a smart cabinet member would use the media through interviews, appearances, press conferences, you name it, photo ops, to try to establish a brand, establish a presence, and show that, and use it as a tool for effective foreign policy. That's part of a Secretary of State's job in the 21st century. So it wasn't fake news. Tillerson out, and the press, we'll see how hard a time the press gives his designated successor, Mike Pompeo. President also getting some good reaction by naming the first woman, the deputy CIA director, to succeed Pompeo at the CIA.